And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with week 3 of Contender Series 2024. With me, as always, and we will be on Mondays around this time moving forward because I do think the weigh-ins are relevant. We'll talk about them later on here, particularly I think with the Contender Series. It's more relevant than maybe a normal card. But with me for all these Contender Series cards, these UFC cards that sometimes look like Contender Series cards, I've kind of decided that the Contender Series is LFA of like 2022, essentially. Like this used to be what we got in LFA cards. So, Lucky, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Coming off a really good UFC card. I'll talk about that obviously when we do the next UFC show, but that was good. Made good money there. And yeah, looking forward to talking about some Contender Series fights. Hopefully we get some exciting ones on Tuesday, tomorrow night. So yeah, let's get into her.
Yeah, this is, I think, I'll speak for myself, the least invested I'll be from a betting perspective on this card. But regardless, we still break it down here. 125, Nick Pikinini, however you say it. Nick, the wrestler from Oklahoma State, is how a lot of people are going to refer to him in this fight against Jack Duffy. Jack Duffy, I'll start with him. He beat Devin Jackson. That was a good win. He's very athletic, tricky fighter. So he does, I think, have a little better of a chance. I think he would have had a little better of a chance against his original opponent than Nick. I just think Nick is going to kind of just buzz through him rather quickly. I think there's just a physical edge with the strength and the wrestling. Getting better, Nick is as well with his overall MMA game. But Duffy's just, other than Devin Jackson, not really beat anybody of note. The Devin Jackson win, it is what it is. But yeah, I think Nick's being brought in here. He's minus 300. Like, there's a couple minus 300s on this card. Nick is the one I'd feel better about of the two, minus 300 plus on the card. But yeah, he should get in there and probably get another submission, probably an arm triangle. I just think that this Duffy kid doesn't seem like he's going to be strong enough to be my friend or strong enough to stop the takedown. But if he does, keeps it on the feet against a guy like Nick, I mean, very limited on in that realm. So becomes a pick 'em if he can stop takedowns. But yeah, this is definitely, I think both guys are probably going to be on the ground scrambling around. And I just think that Nick ends up dominating him and probably getting the sub, but not breaking any news there. Lucky, you got any thoughts on Duffman?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Ochoa's out of this matchup. I think he got booked to actually fight in the UFC. I can't remember off the top of my head who against, but I liked him as a prospect. I think he's going to be pretty good. 7-0, 23-year-old, all finishes from shoot to box. But yeah, this should still be a solid fight. I mean, Jack Duffy is okay. He has a good record on paper. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. I think Mick kind of hit the nail on the head with some of my sentiments here with his most recent comment right there. Yeah. I mean, his first two fights did come on the very infamous Gladiator Challenge. So that always kind of sets off alarm bells for me. And, you look at his fourth fight, he fought a guy who was 0-0, Shane Sargent. That guy's now 0-16. Okay. So
the new Jay Ellis.
Yeah. I don't really think this Duffy guy is super good. I don't really know if I think this guy's for real. He has good back takes. Other than that, I don't really think he's a good striker. I don't know if he has the cardio to wrestle for 3 rounds against a guy like Pikinini. And, Pikinini comes from Fury. He's a former Oklahoma State wrestler, as we know. And as far as wrestling go, a lot of guys say, oh, yeah, I wrestled D1, blah, blah, blah. Like, this guy was pretty legit at that level. He's an All-American twice. I think he won the Big 12 tournament every single year. And, DC, also Oklahoma State alum. And, Pikinini went out to train with him at AKA and was helping him out with his, his wrestling academy that he's got going on in California there. And I think now he's based out of Texas at the team with Fortis. And, he's got a bunch of finishes. He's a big, physically strong guy for this weight class. And, I think he's more legit than Jack Duffy is. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Nick Pikinini in this fight.
Yep. Pikinini, much better than I can ever say it. But, yeah, still staying around the minus 330 mark, plus 240 on Jack Duffy. So it is on short notice for Nick as well, but I, again, don't think it's going to matter, but I am not touching this one at all. move on to the next fight, 135. Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Adam Bramhall, Samurai here. England versus America. Malcolm, secret's out. He hits very, very hard. Go back and watch his Icon fight, many of his fights. I mean, the dude hits extremely hard, throws really tight hooks as well. I think that Adam Bramhall appears to be maybe the more technical of the two fighters here, but definitely I think Bramhall's going to have to survive an early storm, early onslaught. And we just don't know a lot about Malcolm, how he looks as he's extended. I know that Adam has lost a couple fights, albeit to decent competition over in England. Luke Shanks, who I don't think is a terrible loss, especially early on in your career. Go back and watch that one. And Scott Malone, which Scott Malone fought a perfect game plan against Adam in that fight. Like, just blitzed him from the get-go. It was a KO, but it wasn't a vicious KO at all. It was just kind of, he kept dominating with the wrestling. Scott Malone out-veteraned him. I think those two losses are good losses for Adam early in his career. All of his fights being with the same organization is a little bit of a red flag to me. And definitely the level of competition both these guys is unproven. It's dog or pass for me. I'm going with Adam Bramhall to win a decision. But again, this is more of a lot of unknowns on Malcolm Wellmaker, and the line I just think is a little out of line at this point with plus 190 on Bramhall. But like Mick says, our unofficial third co-host, does take a lot of shots to the face, but typically wears them pretty well. But I think someone like Malcolm is somebody who can knock out a lot of people for the first time. So would not surprise me a Malcolm KO. I'm going Adam by decision. Lucky.
Yeah, Wellmaker's 7-0. He's got a lot of amateur experience as well. He won against Max Quinones as an amateur. That's a decent win. Win over Taylor Moore, who's decent. You know, Wellmaker can strike and grapple, primarily a striker. I'd like to see him up the volume a little bit in his fights. You know, like you mentioned, he does hit really hard. I feel like he throws, singularly a little too often. I'd like to see a few more combinations from him. You know, he's a good fighter. He's not someone that screams UFC to me, really. Bramhall has a Muay Thai style. Definitely not a UFC style. Bramhall fighting, basically his whole career in cage steel, which is fine, but I don't know. It's a little weird that you have 15 fights and you never fought in Cage Warriors. You never got on an octagon card in the UK. I didn't see you on PFL Europe or, any other big European regional show. Mm-hmm. And, he's fought pretty much no one, to be honest with you. And the two half decent fighters that he did fight, he lost in round one both times. Now, like you said, Luke Shanks is good. I'm not holding that against him. I mean, Scott Malone, it's not bad, early in your career. I don't think either of them are a bad loss, but, to have you fight pretty much no one, and then the only time we see you against, guys that you've heard of before, he gets finished in the first round both times. I don't know. I don't really get the feeling that he's all that good. I think Wellmaker is a little better here. I think he has more wrestling upside. I do think it's going to be close on the feet, though, to be honest with you. Bramhall, he can strike. I don't think he's, no good or anything like that. And I'm not majorly high on Wellmaker, but I am going to side with Malcolm Wellmaker to win here, but I'm not really interested in being involved on this one.
Yeah, I mean, plus 190. I might take a dip. I'm not going to lie. I was considering it before. I just think Adam's going to be a lot more busy of the two of these guys. I think he can keep the footwork. His footwork's much more technical. But he does take a lot of shots. I think Malcolm could put him out in the first round as well. So this is
definitely fair.
And what we keep saying, Adam's takedown defense isn't bad, but also he's facing very low-level wrestlers with cage steel. So to be determined would be on the TDD, in my opinion. What up, Zach? And what up, just my 2 cents. Good to see you. But, yeah, I mean, this is, again, these fights, I feel like we're going to sound like broken records through this breakdown where we're saying this guy fought nobody. This guy fought nobody. I mean, it's just over and over on this card, including in the main event. We'll get to the main event and whose level of competition is worse there. It's a horse race. But yeah, plus 190. Minus 250. I mean, Malcolm could look minus 500 if he wins. If he loses, you got the value on Adam, in my opinion, if it gets extended. So we shall see. Next one up here, we got the return of Marco Tulio. He beat Belgori on the Contender Series, and now he's getting another Frenchman in Mathieu Ducos here at 185 pounds. I mean, I went back, I watched this Duclos guy, including his Bellator fight. I wasn't too impressed by it. I get it was a standing TKO, but again, like there's just overall, I just think that he's being brought in here to have Marco have a showcase knockout. I just don't. I think that this is just kind of one of those classic second times the charm spots here. I do, without spoiling too much here, like both our return fighters in the Contender Series tomorrow. But Tulio coming off of a win, very, very legit Muay Thai overall. Like there are some possible holes with that chin, and I do think he could be a bit of a glass cannon, but Duclos is not the one who's going to reveal that glass. Tulio knocks him out in round 1, in my opinion, and gets a contract. Lucky. I know I'm against 2 cents on this one, so be gentle.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I'm not really big on this Duclos guy. Kind of a bizarre ending to his last fight as well, with that like eye injury thing that happened. Like I don't know if that should have been a TKO. Like they ruled it, or like maybe a no contest. I don't really know what happened there. He is really big. He hits hard. I thought he looked good today at the weigh-ins as well. Tulio, I just think he's a better fighter. I don't think Tulio is really anything super special, to be honest with you, but I do think he's the better guy here. He won in Contender Series last year, no contract, won on LFA and got a stoppage and has been brought back in. And I think if he wants to come out and grapple, he can submit this guy. I know you were talking about the knockout. I think he can submit him. And, maybe you could strike with him as well. But I feel like the path of least resistance would be to utilize some grappling here.
Yeah.
And, I think he probably will strike, though. I mean, why wouldn't he? He'll probably throw a bunch of flashy stuff for no reason.
Tulio by KO is
Tulio.
85.
Yeah, he's going to go out there and probably throw a bunch of crazy strikes that he doesn't need to throw. So probably live. I'd probably lean sub. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Marco Tulio to win this one. Not that that's a very controversial opinion here.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but I got him at minus 340 in a bunch of parlays. And, yeah, he's minus 500 now. So, cool. That's always nice, including one with the Detroit Tigers minus 1.5 runs from last night. Detroit Tigers today have a chance to go to 500 in August for a first time since 2016. So a little extra baseball fact there. But yeah, minus 500 for Tulio Silva, plus 340 for the reverse CLV on just my 2 cents. So we know that 2 cents likes getting that. So yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I would like to see the sub, but again, this isn't a card I'm going to be extending with going for that plus 450 hit there, because he's just going to come out and be a tough guy probably, which is fine against Duclos. He's still going to look good. All right, featured fight co-main event, second from the top. I feel like a fight that a lot of people are very excited about. Michael Aswell, the now favorite in this fight, Fury product. Texas kid taking on Bogden Grad, who makes his return to the Contender Series. He was knocked out a year ago by Tom Nolan at 155. Went and got 2 wins, 1 sub, 1 knockout on the regional scene against a decent level of competition. Michael Aswell, I mean, he's good. He's coming off of a finish of Nathan Richardson, which, is always impressive. But, we were talking before the fights, and there's just a certain way you need to look in an organization like Fury. And in that organization, you should be getting some pretty impressive knockouts, like, a lot of the guys we've seen come over from there. Fernando Padilla, just other guys that we've seen come over from Fury, and they just face this level, and they just look a certain way. Michael, is more of that attritional striker type who just wears you down because he fights he's never going to give up. He's never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to turn around to desert you. But the thing is here with Bogden, first of all, I was hinting at the weigh-ins before the fights here, and I don't think anybody looked better at the weigh-ins than Bogden. He's clearly taking all of his vitamins. There's no more USADA this time. There's just some differences here that Wouldn't be surprised if they kind of show up with Bogden. I think he is at a more proper weight class of 145 as well. I just think technically he's a much better fighter than Aswell. Now, we now know, because we're in the DDP era of MMA, that technique does not matter, except it still does a lot of times. And I'm not saying like Michael Aswell is terrible either. I just think that he's going to try to drag Bogden into the deep, deep water and kind of just make this a dirty, like grittier kind of fight and wear him down. I think Bogden can, kind of just be better from a technical standpoint. I think on the ground he's got advantages as well. Glenbot mentioned the club and sub with Tulio. I think the club and sub here could be very, very live, because I could see Bogden hurting him on the feet, as well kind of panic, wrestling a little bit, leaving his neck exposed and getting choked out. And at the same point, I seem to be on an island because the money keeps coming in on Michael Aswell, the Texas kid. I saw that Bogden was minus 105, now at minus 110. So he's in that range. It's a pick 'em. I think this is a good fight. It's a very good clash of styles. I got Bogden here, and I got him by submission.
Yeah, I think this is the best fight, to be honest with you. Michael Aswell is pretty decent. He's a good fighter. He's done well on the Fury circuit. Boxer, very comfortable in the boxing range. One of the problems I kind of have with him, and you really touched on it, pretty much everything that I'm going to bring up. I'm not sure he's super dangerous, to be honest. I think Bogdan Grad is a much more dangerous guy in this matchup. And, we saw him on Contender Series last year. And I bet against him on Tom Nolan, which worked pretty well. But, this time, certainly as far as a pick is concerned, I'm going to be on his side. He's not at 155 anymore. He's at 145. I think that's the right decision. We saw him at weigh-ins today. I totally agree with you. I thought he looked fantastic. I think he's the better finisher is Bogdan Grad. I'm not like majorly high on him, going forward past this fight, but he can put people away with strikes, and he has a functional jiu-jitsu game. In addition to that, he's just a little more diverse in his attacks than a guy like Michael Aswell is. And I don't feel like Aswell is a guy we're going to really see getting finishes above the regional level. So, I'm with you. I'm going to lean to Bogdan Grad. I kind of expected him to be a dog this week, just because, when you're looking ahead, you see the Tapology votes. A lot of people are picking Aswell. He opened up slight favorite. He got it to minus 170 for a little bit on Bet Online and was kind of hanging around like minus 140, minus 125-ish range. And now he's become the underdog. I'm seeing plus 104 at Bet Online right now. I think that's the best available. So, at this new price, I'm definitely interested, and I'm going to be watching how this line moves. But yeah, it's going to be Bogdan Grad for me in our co-main event offering here.
I like it. I already parlayed Bogdan with Tulio at that minus 330 or minus one. Bogdan was at minus 140. So I kind of traded the value a little bit, but I ended up getting on the right side since I got the Tulio in the minus 300 range. But yeah, Bogdan at minus 105 plus money. I'm very tempted if he gets the plus money, especially, and I can access that. I do think I will dip into that. And I would lean towards finish, but it would not surprise me with a guy like Aswell if it goes to decision. He is very tough. So I'll be interested when the over comes out, because the over 2.5 on this one, I think I could think about getting involved with it as well. I think I'm a little bit higher on Bogdan than some people, but I'm not expecting him to come into the UFC and win multiple fights. I don't think anybody from this card has much of a chance to do that off the bat, at least until they really improve. So this is just, again, I think these fights could be fun tomorrow, but this is low level. So, all right, moving on. Did I say low level? Because we've got, I think they're just randomly choosing what the main event is. They have to be. I don't get why either one of these guys are here. Liam Anderson, sure, he's fun enough, but his nickname is the White Widow. So we're out on Liam Anderson. No, but like Liam Anderson, he's the better grappler, obviously, of the two of these guys, the better wrestler. He's gonna look to get this to the ground. I don't see him mixing up on the feet a whole lot with Pulev, but Pulev just kind of a long, lengthy southpaw who half of his fights I feel like should be flagged on Tapology for not being eligible because they're against like 0-0, 0-1s. Like, just okay, you're beating these guys. Like, he has a cool liver kick knockout that I got to watch where the guy like reacted about 20 seconds after he got hit. It It was wild. So, he's lengthy, he's tricky. I think he has the advantage on the feet, but like leaves a lot of openings to be countered as well. Like he's very loopy with his shots. They're not exactly the most straight and quick shots either. This is one where I don't really get why either one of these guys is a favorite. I feel like this should absolutely be a pick 'em. I'll go with the massive underdog now in Pulev, but this is one that I have zero interest in betting on. Absolute pass. Just give me Russia to be able to have some sort of wrestling defense, and then on the feet, I think he has the advantage over Liam, who has beat slightly better competition by like this much. Both these guys shouldn't be here.
Yeah, this is, a fight featuring two guys who are interesting choices, to say the least. And they have the finishes to get on the show. They're exciting. I'm just not sure either one of them projects very highly. Pulev has 2 losses, and one of them was Anvarbek Daniela Bekov, who is a really good fighter. He's 8-0 with 8 knockouts, and he was supposed to be on Contender Series later this year versus Belga Rui. I think he had to pull out of that one for some reason, but Pulev is part of the Shlemenko fight team. I think he's maybe the better striker of the two. Cardio is pretty suspect though.
Yes.
Anderson has 2 losses. One of them is pretty ugly. The other one is Miles Lee, who's like a really good wrestler. I'm not really impressed with any of his wins, to be honest, in terms of name value. And I would say the exact same thing for Pulev. Anderson is a guy who, I watched in the regionals, and he was a guy that I said, he's a lot better than people think he is. He's a lot better than what is implied by his record. And he also had a really excellent amateur run, but I never really thought like, oh, he's going to be in the UFC, or we're going to see him, in that sphere of the sport, really. But he's a good grappler. I mean, a striking defense I don't think is great. Could let him down a little bit here. I don't know, man. It's just 2 guys that I'm not really super impressed with, honestly. I'm going to lean to Pulev because, like you said, I mean, I'm seeing plus 175 at BetOnline.
Doesn't make sense.
Plus 180 now, it looks like, actually. That's a little weird considering they opened him at minus 275. So
right.
I don't know. I don't think you're getting a good price on Liam Anderson at minus 210 or anything like that.
Hot takes. Yeah, I said this was like an LFA card. This last fight is like that PFL Challengers Series fight that's like on Fubo TV. This would be, and then you'd be like, I'm not going to sign up for the free trial this week. I'm going to save it for a different card because it's just Pulev and Anderson. I'm okay skipping this. So shout out to Fubo TV if you want to sponsor.
Yeah, 2 cents. Totally agree with you, man. In the chat there. Before I taped it, once I watched the tape, I was like, oh, he's not good, is he? You know what I mean? He's just not good.
This is a woefully sad Dana White Contender Series. It's getting sadder by the week. I don't want to look ahead, but that is gonna that's in. So on DraftKings right now, which is where I get the lines for the show, plus 155, minus 200. I don't really get it. Real quick, going through the card here. We're both on Pikinini here. I'm on Adam Bramhall. Are you on Morgan or Malcolm, I should say?
Yeah, I'm going to take Wellmaker there.
Okay, we're both on Tulio there. Both on Bogden Grad and both on Pulev. So, a lot of agreements this week. Again, low-level card. My only involvement is I have a Tulio Grad parlay that I got involved with, as well as a Bramhall dog shot, and that is it. But if you want to do a Zhongli for this, go ahead, but that's literally the full card. So good luck. Mountain Bet's always coming through for the LFA and Contender Series cards. So real one there. But that's going to do it, folks. No UFC this week. Thank the Lord. Go enjoy your holiday weekends. Do not tweet about being sad about not having a shitty UFC for 1 week. Go outside. Shout out to Glenbot. Shout out to 2 Cents. Shout out to Kelly. Chase Reed making his way in here. We had the General, Alex Ramirez, stopping by. And, of course, Lucky Locks, I appreciate you making the time. Every Monday, we will be back with these breakdowns. We'll see with the holiday if we have a life. We might not do it next week on Monday, or I might just come on here solo, depending on what our holiday weekend's looking like. But we'll be back with the Contender Series next week, and then UFC, back with the UFC next week. So thank you, everybody. Peace out. Appreciate it. 25 minutes.